So today, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are expected to easily amass the 270 electoral votes needed for official victory. The first states begin voting at 10 a.m. The next step comes on January 6th, when a joint session of Congress meets to count the votes. Good morning and welcome to Morning Joe. It is Monday, December 14th, and with us we have White House reporter for the Associated Press, Jonathan Lemire, NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent and host of Way Too Early, Kasie Hunt, and host of MSNBC's Politics Nation and president of the National Action Network, Reverend Al Sharpton.
So, Jonathan Lemire, how do you expect today to go? Anybody? I think a couple of people didn't vote for Trump back in 2016. We expected any strays out there?
Joe, we're looking for that. That's always a possibility. But what I can guarantee you will happen today is more rage and fury from the White House and baseless allegations of a rigged process. Indeed, electors are going to be meeting in all 50 states today, Joe, including and the District of Columbia, to cast their ballots. These will be ones that will be certified in the first week of January. That is yet another point where Trump and his allies perhaps will play a stunt. That will be when the Congress meets to certify the vote. None of this will change, of course, the ultimate result. These will be more defeats for President Trump, but again, more dangerous efforts to undermine faith in the electoral system and, in the minds of some voters, the credibility of Joe Biden's election.
Yeah, a lot of crackpots who actually would have been crackpots regardless of what Donald Trump did, like Democrats have crackpots and have had crackpots in the past. We thought that George W. Bush was on the inside in the 9/11 attacks. Don't get pissed at me. I've got the polls, Democrats. But the difference there is it was crackpots in the far reaches of the internet who were pushing that. Here, Kasie, we've got the president of the United States acting in a more dangerous way. You got over 100 members of Congress who are calling for sedition against the United States of America, who are calling to undermine an American democratic process. They pose, it's not an overstatement, it really isn't. These people are posing the greatest risk, the greatest threat to American democracy, greatest challenge since the Civil War. Now, they suck at what they're doing. Please don't get me wrong. They really suck at this. They're just horrible. It's all gestures. And the losers that signed on to this bill, they suck at this too. But again, it's all gestures. But that said, it sends a horrible precedent because there may be a totalitarian in waiting that actually knows what they're doing, that's going to go to school on everything that Donald Trump's done. And hey, Republicans, guess what? It might be a Democrat, might be an independent, might be a fascist, might be a Marxist. You don't know. You're just being stupid as hell, sniffing this guy, following him around till the very end. All that said, Kasie, how's that for a lead up to this question? What are you hearing on Capitol Hill?
Well, I have a feeling I'm going to be hearing some more after that. Look, these members of Congress are still afraid of Donald Trump, and they are more afraid of what he may do to them than they are of what they are doing to the country, which I think tells you a lot.
What about to their own reputations? Does anybody? Do they not really even care what their children think of them, what their spouses think of them, what their grandchildren think of them, what history's going to think of them? Are they really so afraid what's going to happen over the next 4 weeks that they're willing to shame themselves? They do know historians are going to write about this chapter in American history. And they are going to be on the side of sedition. They are going to be the modern day Benedict Arnolds who are trying to undermine American democracy. They got to understand that, Kasie, right? And they're really more scared about a reality TV host than they are being that dramatically wrong about American democracy and history.
I feel like I have been asking a version of that question to so many of these members of the Republican Party, both privately and publicly, in public interviews and privately. And they all find a way to push back against it. I think privately, yeah, they realize that history is going to judge this period likely in a very harsh way.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.